and welcome to Autism Webinar number 3, where we are discussing the 10 Commandments for Raising Children with Autism. I'm very excited to have you all here today. I had a profound experience today. I was walking in the store, and while I was in the store, a lady came up to me and said, "Are you the Dr. Josh?" And knowing me, I was like, "Well, yes, I am the Dr. Josh. So pleased to meet you." And she told me that she watches the webinars every Wednesday and that she loves them. And her friend had shared the videos with her, and she's getting a lot out of it. So was really glad that is happening. My beautiful wife Emily will be here soon. She is out giving Caitlin a drive. Caitlin is sometimes relaxed with an evening drive to help her calm down at night, and Emily was kind enough to drive so that I could talk with you today, but she will be here soon once they get back. I want to thank everybody who donated, and we have Lori Eskridge on, and she donated this week, and those who donated will be getting a print version of the 10 Commandments of Autism, or it can be digital, whatever you prefer. And Emily is working on sending those out. Also, everybody who donates will be eligible to win one of these hooded sweatshirts. It's a size large. My wife designed this, and it looks great. These webinars are for Autism Awareness Month, and they are sponsored by my youngest son, Eli, who is raising money for the Out of Darkness Walk. The Out of Darkness Walk raises money for suicide intervention, and this is a cause very important to my family. So if you have found these webinars helpful in any way, please donate to the link that corresponds to this video. And we certainly appreciate it. Eli's raised $155 so far, and the team has raised over $1,000. So we're very excited. Like to dedicate this video to my brother Jared. He passed away 16 years ago, on April 16th, and Uncle Jared would have loved his nieces and nephews, both the ones who are autistic and the ones who are not autistic. And I love children with autism. They say the funniest things. My son Jared told me today that he was going to find a woman who was pretty and knew all the Pokemon, and he was going to marry her. So he has clearly defined his parameters of the kind of woman that he is looking for. So tonight's webinar is a special one for me. It is something that I've been working on a long time. I've done a lot of work in outpatient settings with people with autism, in the prison setting with prison inmates who are autistic, and with people in psychiatric hospitals at Our Lady of Peace who had autism, and also in working with my children with autism. There are certain things that I have come to find that are very helpful, and I wanted to boil this down to as simple as I could place it. When I found out that my children were autistic, I read everything I could get my hands on. And since I was a graduate student in psychology at the time, there was a lot of materials available. But as busy parents with children with autism, or providers trying to help people with autism, it's hard to devote the kind of time that you need to read everything that is available. So I tried to boil this down into as simple as information that I could. And I thought, if we could learn 10 principles that could make a a big difference in the work that we do with children with autism. Now, I purposely called it the 10 Commandments because when you work with individuals with autism, it is not something that should vary. It's something that should be consistent. Most of the kids that I work with autism, they love video games. And one of the things that they love about video games is their consistency. If I press B, then this will happen every time. And whereas people are less predictive. So if we can be as consistent as possible, this will help lead to the behavior change that we're looking for. So, and I chose the number 10 because it goes very well with 10 Commandments. Also, our dear Hoosier brother Letterman was very fond of list of 10. So, commandment number 1. And in my opinion, this commandment could apply to all children, but it is, if you say it, you have to do it. So, many times when we're interacting with children, we'll say the first thing that comes to our mind. And this can be good, bad, or indifferent. So when I am punishing a child and I am upset, I am likely to make a punishment that is more extreme than I really wanted to give. And then I'm stuck with it because that's what I said. Now, on the other end, children with autism may forget a lot of things, but if you promise them a reward for something and you don't deliver, you're going to be in a world of hurt. So you have to follow with what you said. With some children with autism, I've seen it so extreme that if you say that you're going to the bank and then going to the store, but instead change your mind and go to the store and then the bank, then we have a tantrum. You have to be consistent with everything that you say. So there's a lot of ways to go about this. First, let's talk about punishment. It is one of the hardest things to get right as a parent with any child. And one of the things that I really look for is for caregivers in the family to meet together in a time when the children are not present, maybe asleep, and come up with consequences for the child's most likely target behavior. Hello, Miss Jessica. I hope you are taking care of your birthday boy, my dear beloved cousin. And so, if I am meeting with my wife and we are discussing Jared's target behaviors that we're concerned about, so kind of sneaky behaviors, we discuss the behaviors ahead of time and set the consequences ahead of time so that when the behavior occurs, we can go ahead and give the punishment because we've already decided on the behavior when it's neutral outside. Good job making meatloaf for dinner for cousin Brian. Now, if the child engages in a behavior that is out of the normal, and this happens. Now, I got to tell you this one secret. You do not have to punish immediately. You can say there's going to be a consequence. I need to talk with your mother about this. And for right now, no electronics, and I will get back with you. This is not violating commandment number 1. You're still good because you haven't said anything. I would rather you stay silent than say something that you don't mean. And if you need a little time to relax and figure out what the punishment's going to be, that's fine. But as we know as parents, sometimes the punishments are harder on us than they are on the children. But if you say no video games for the rest of the day, then it has to be no video games for the rest of the day. I cannot tell you how many times that I have worked with parents and they fail to follow this one commandment. One of the things that I was so grateful for when working in the prison is I was able to try out some of my ideas in a setting where they followed the behavior plans like the law. Because if they did not follow the behavior plans, they were out of there. So if I said, "Hello, Aunt Kimbo, it was great seeing you today," if I said that if this inmate does not take a shower, they lose their TV, that the officers of the prison, they would take that TV, no problem. And if the inmate cried, whined, and engaged in any other target behavior, they wouldn't care. They would follow up on it because that is the behavior plan. And that's what we have to do as parents. And if we are not prepared to implement those restrictions, then we just shouldn't say it. It would be better not to say it than to say it and not follow through. I agree, Jessica. Video games can be such a powerful motivator and punisher. So let's talk about rewards. Before you say it, you got to really think, are you going to commit to this? Because then you are on the line. And there have been plenty of times where I've said to the kids, okay, if you're going to do this, then I will take you out and then we will go to Bass Pro Shop. And then they do it. And then I'm home and I'm tired. And I do not want to go to Bass Pro Shop. But I said it, so it has to happen. So, and if they pressure you into trying to get some sort of reinforcement, it is perfectly okay to say, I'm going to have to think about that before I answer. This happens to me on a daily basis, both at home and at work. So one of the things that I do in my social skills groups is they always end with a snack. And I do this for several reasons. One, I like snacks. Two, it's a good way to practice social skills because can you eat and talk at the same time? I struggle with this myself. And three, it gives me a great reinforcer to offer the kids because if their behavior is not appropriate, no snack. Now, at times, we have excellent behavior, and then that means they get a second snack. Now, some of the kids have gotten wise to this, and while I'm doing group, they will say, Dr. Josh, if we do this really good, can we get a second snack? Now, they know if I say yes, I have to give them that second snack. So I have to be prepared, and sometimes I'll say, let me think about that for a minute. Or I will ask my co-therapist, what do you think, Miss Danielle? So I can take a few minutes to think myself. One of the greatest men in our history, Abraham Lincoln, he was a master of delay, and he wouldn't say something until he knew for sure that he meant it. So if there is nothing else that you can do, following commandment number 1 will make a big difference. Now, commandment number 2. When it comes to verbal communication, less is more. This is such a hard thing for people to understand. We live in a world where if somebody is upset, then our tendency is wanting to talk more. Well, let's think about this for a second. We're dealing with an individual with autism spectrum disorder. The method of understanding information that they least understand is verbal. And they are upset. So sensory-wise, they are all over the place. So why, if a person whose mode of understanding, the least understood mode of understanding is verbal, and they're upset, why would you use this method? Because it doesn't work. I know it is your most preferred way of expression, but it is not their best way of understanding. One of the things that people are surprised about when they see me interacting with an autistic child who is upset is that I am quiet. And they're like, don't you think you should say something? What is there to say? So let me give you how the secret how to do this. Do you want to say hi, Kate Solo?
Say hi to Grandpa.
Say hi, Grandpa. Say I love you. What's your favorite autistic commandment? All right, you'll have to get back to me on that. All right. So this is the template for dealing with a child who is upset, who's on the autism spectrum. You tell them what you want them to do. Then you say, if you do this, this good thing will happen. If you don't do this, this bad thing will happen. Then you say nothing for 5 minutes and let them make their choice. After 5 minutes, you repeat what you want them to do and what the good thing will happen if they do what they're supposed to, and what's the bad thing that's going to happen if they don't do what they're supposed to. And then you wait another 5 minutes, and then you repeat. They may throw things. That's fine. They can always pick it up later. This is the key. Most people don't know this. You know that a tantrum is going to start winding down by the first time that a child starts following instructions. And so once they start calming down, then they're going to have to start taking care of any negative behavior that occurred during their tantrum. That could be picking up items. That could be apologizing to somebody that they offended. And then they will have to follow through on the instruction that you provided. And dependent on their behavior, they will either receive the positive or negative consequence. And we are going to keep remembering commandment number 1. And so if we said they were going to get something positive, then that's what they get. If we said they were going to get something negative in response to their behavior, then that's what they're going to get. And now I will tell you, there is no reason to talk about the individual's feelings while they're having a tantrum. We don't care about their feelings right then. We're pretty sure how they feel. Sad and mad. She's here. She made it. And she's looking great, wearing her wonderful shirt that she designed.
I am wearing mine. I am wearing the prize here.
I have seen parents make some big mistakes in this area. I have seen parents say, "Why are you doing this? Don't you care about me?" That's not what they're thinking about at the time. They are thinking either they are overstimulated, or that they are not understanding what's going on, or they're just upset. So their personal feelings for you are not going to come into play. The behaviors and the consequences of the behaviors is what they care about. How are you doing?
I'm good.
How was Caitlin's drive?
Babe was lovely. Thank you for asking.
Okay. Number 3.
Can I add something?
Go right ahead.
Just keep in mind, they can be manipulative as any child. So,
Oh, yes.
actually, Jared will say, "Don't you love me anymore?" He says, "Don't you love me anymore? You don't like me." He doesn't really think that. He really doesn't think that.
And so this goes back to a question that my mother asked in the first webinar. What can grandparents do? Follow the behavior plan.
To the line, Grandma.
There's this one grandfather, and the kid hit grandma in the face. And I was like, that's bad. Now, the behavior plan that we agreed to was no electronics for 24 hours with aggressive behavior. What did you do? And he's like, well, he was pretty upset about hitting his grandma, so I took him out for pizza. Took him out for pizza! No! No! Don't. Bothers me to think about it now. And I was like, did you take video games away? No. So you
that was hard for Grandpa.
It is hard.
Man up, Grandpa, man up.
As President Kennedy said, we don't do these things because they're easy. We do them because they're hard. Now I got that grandpa back on the page, and next time he was aggressive, no pizza. And the grandpa took away video games, so I was very proud of him. We discussed commandment number 3 a lot in the last webinar, but it's as much intervention as possible. We worry about our kids being busy, and they're going to be busy. And this is not, when we're talking about all the interventions available, speech, OT, psychiatric, psychological groups and camps and school and everything, we're not talking about Little League Baseball and trying to make them a Major League Baseball player. We're talking about the fact that the most effective intervention they will receive is as early as possible. And we want our children to have the best prognosis as they can have so they can live as independently as possible. And all the research shows that it has that the children enjoy it, that they really like it. In fact, in some cases, unfortunately, we have problems with the typically developing children getting jealous that they don't get to go to group or they don't get to go to OT. But I'm sure it's a burden for parents to get the kids to all their interventions.
Well, yes and no, because I was just thinking about this. Commandment number 1, stick to what you say. It's exhausting. It's exhausting. And when you take them to ABA or OT or speech, guess what they do? They stick to what they say. And so it gives ABA is helpful for many reasons, but literally that's the boiled down version of what behavior therapy is here is the positive reinforcement for this desired behavior, or the positive reinforcement for replacing an undesired behavior with a more acceptable behavior. And so here they are, they go for how many hours a week to ABA, and they reinforce this with them. And then when they come home, especially if you are on the same plan, if you have effective meetings with your the people who work at that ABA company, you reinforce it as well, and the behaviors change. It really does work. The reason that ABA is the most documented effective intervention for kids with autism is because this is what works for them. You say this and you follow through with this. That's what makes sense to them, and it's what leads to the desired behavior changes. So that's one of the reasons even though it's hard sometimes to get the kiddos everywhere, it really does help you as a parent because you're getting back up. You're getting a break while they're at the therapy session. And
I have lovely magazines.
Josh has great magazines.
And a fish.
Yeah, one fish.
We're not talking about the other fish. That was a mistake.
The fish is not with us.
We're not talking about the fish.
But it gives you more adults, and highly trained adults, hopefully, depending on what therapy we're talking about, that are backing you up, and then also saying, hey, this is what we're doing. You want to follow up by doing this at home? And you're like, okay, I will do that at home. And it leads to the positive changes we're hoping for.
One of the biggest questions that I get is it easier to work with clients or with kids? And it is much easier to work with clients because it's an hour and then they leave. My own children, they keep sticking around. I guess because we keep feeding them.
Yeah.
But,
well, the video games, as you mentioned.
yeah. So it makes, so yes, it gives you a break with somebody who will follow the behavior plan. That was an excellent point. Number 4, consistency is the key. All children on the spectrum, whether they are very high functioning or very low functioning, they like consistency. You eat dinner about the same time. On Wednesday, you do this. On Sundays, you go here. They like things to be the same. And for that, we have the autism song. Everything different is sad and bad. Everything different makes me mad.
Josh wrote this song for himself and has now realized it applies to children on the spectrum.
Really, different is bad.
No change. He doesn't like it.
No. Change, bad.
I made that mistake today.
Oh, did you? What happened?
Well, my mom was out of town for quite a while, and Wednesday nights are kind of our busy nights. I have to get everybody someplace for church activities, and so we had made Wednesday night pizza night, and we didn't have pizza tonight, and my eldest son was not pleased with me. It was displeasure.
He'll file a complaint.
Well, we have talked extensively about when we are in fact going to have pizza now because we missed pizza night.
Well, I don't know how you're going to live with yourself.
I will attempt to sleep tonight. I will.
Commandment number 5, speak visually. These are visual people. And this is another commandment that applies to everyone on the spectrum, even high-functioning children on the autism spectrum, which, interestingly enough, children who are high-functioning on the autism spectrum have higher verbal IQs. But even these children prefer to have visual information presented to them. One of the things that I am very grateful for when it comes to Jared's Sunday school teacher is that she will make sure that she has a TV in the room every time she teaches Jared in Sunday school and a PowerPoint presentation with short videos. Because Jared, who is very smart and receives very good grades in school, he understands.
Sorry, I was just joking.
It could be worse. He understands. He understands the Sunday school information much better when it's presented in a visual format.
Right.
So, another thing. Now, my wife is a genius.
Well, I'm not going to deny it. We're on live Facebook. I can't.
You cannot deny it. This woman has traveled with autistic children across the country by herself. And so one of the hardest times that she did this, Caitlin was very young, and did you have 3 kids with you? I think.
Which time? I've done all 4, but
well, I think this might have been all 4. But one of the concerns we had was Caitlin going through security and taking children through.
When we flew, yes.
Taking autistic children through security. It is the 7th circle of hell.
It's torture.
Because
it's a little better now. Oh, I'll let you finish your story.
Go right ahead.
Well, they don't make kids take their shoes off
anymore. Oh, they don't. See, that was a thing.
It was really bad.
My daughter does not like taking her shoes off. No, she does not. And then
getting out of the stroller.
Getting out of the stroller.
Taking the shoes off.
Taking the backpack off.
Taking her because she loves to wear her backpack.
And so my wife made a wonderful social story, and she had wonderful pictures. Google Images is your friend.
It is your friend.
And I've even used Google Images just with my iPhone. See, this is what I want you to do. And so she did that social story, and when Caitlin got to security, she took her shoes off, she took her backpack off, she knew exactly what to do. Because Emily had done the social story 2 weeks ahead of time and read it to Caitlin every night leading up to that trip. And Caitlin knew exactly what was going to happen. And I guarantee you, If she hadn't done that, there would have been a significant tantrum in the airport.
It's not something that we have is built into our daily routine as would be ideal, but I cannot go on a trip without doing that, giving them some kind of a visual of what to anticipate. When my father passed away and the kids basically had to be thrown in the car and driven to Iowa, it was pretty horrible for Caitlin. It was the worst I've ever seen her because it was a sudden upheaval and there was no, we could talk till we were blue in the face, but we didn't have the opportunity to prepare her for that, and it was very difficult for her.
And then social stories that I like to do with my clients are electronic social stories. I will tell you, and this is to all those providers out there, if you can toilet train a child, then that client will never leave you. I have toilet trained 15 young men, and their mothers think I am the most wonderful person in the world. And I have this electronic social story that I use for toilet training, and they show it to their kids twice a day, sometimes more, and it can be very helpful, and they can even show it to them on their phone. So try to think of ways to present information visually. It will make a big difference. Now I got reminded of a quick story that goes back to commandment number 1. I'm sorry. But one of the things that was funny about this family is they made a little mistake with commandment number 1, which was if you say it, you have to do it. And they said, they told their son that if he went number 2 in the potty, they would buy him a $100 Lego set. And they didn't think that one through. And so he went number 2 in the potty, and he's like, okay, I'm ready. And they call me up, and they're like, Dr. Josh, what do we got to do?
Cough it up.
And they're like, we don't have $100. Like,
sell something.
They got that $100 Lego set, but they also really learned commandment number 1 that day. And now he was shortly completely potty trained after that, and so that really helped out a lot. Commandment number 6. This is a tough one. This is actually one of the tougher ones I'm going to tell you. Don't take it personally. Autistic children are going to say horrible things about you. On average, it is a dang good thing that I don't get paid per satisfaction survey from clients.
Especially we're talking about from the kids.
Yeah, parents love me.
Kids.
Not good. It's a good thing the parents bring the children because they would stop coming very quickly. I heard from a client that I've been working with for over 2 years, and he said to me, Dr. Josh, that first year I hated you. It wasn't until after I realized that my life is better when I follow directions that I kind of started liking you a little.
And that's a little easier to hear as a practitioner than it is as a parent.
That is correct. Autistic children will tell their parents some horrible things. My son Jared, he has a preferred parent. I mean, he's a wise man. It's a horrible boy. We punish this behavior. But how have you felt when he said things to you?
He has hurt my feelings, and that's hard because I know that's not what he means. He likes to clarify that he likes Dad best, and over time he has learned, socially appropriate things to say and not, because I know my boy loves me. I do, and we have a lot of fun together. But his dad is everything to him, and I think that's great. I picked this man to be the father of my children. I like him, so I'm great with the fact that my son likes him. But I've had to take some deep breaths and wipe a couple of tears a few times, and over we have gone over with him what is socially appropriate to say. Now we've gotten it down to where he will say, "I love you, Mom. I like Dad better," and we're still working on that, but it's progress. We'll take progress.
So when I mean don't take it personally, what I am talking about is sometimes they will say things and they don't realize the full impact of what they're saying. And we should not use their ignorance of the social skill against them, because they might not understand the negative impact of what they're saying.
Yeah.
So we want them to learn the rules, but we can't expect them to understand the rules right away. For a lot of the kids that are on the autism spectrum, they learn social skills like we learn rules to a board game. They don't come naturally, and they seem arbitrary.
Yeah.
That, like, well, you know, it's been interesting to work with clients over the course of years. I have this young autistic man who is now married, and he has called me and he said, Dr. Josh, my wife has told me that she's fine and she's not fine. Why would she say this?
Who does that?
Men have wondered this for years, and we have no answers. And so it is really difficult when autistic children are upset. They will say some mean and hurtful things, and you can review that with them later when they're calm, but it is definitely best not to hold them against that at the time.
Right. Like Jared, I don't think has ever meant to, I'm going to hurt my mom's feelings. That's never what his intention has been. He just didn't, as you said, he just didn't understand the social impact of how he was saying that, what he was saying.
All right. So commandment number 7, let's see. This comes from the movie City Slickers, and where Curly said, the secret of life is one thing. And Billy Crystal's like, what's that? It's like, you're going to have to figure that out. Focus on one thing at a time and choose your focus carefully. As parents of any child, you're going to have 100 things that you're worried about. If that child is autistic, you're going to have 1,000 things you're worried about. You cannot deal with 1,000 things at the same time. You will drive yourself crazy. And then you'll both end up at Wellstone, and that's not helpful. Focus on one problem behavior at a time. So what do you focus on? So I've had it before, because I like to get the parents' input, and if I have to tell them that they're wrong, I will do that more than willingly. And so I had this kid, for one, who wasn't eating vegetables, wasn't eating fruit, was hitting people, throwing knives at people, very rude to people all the way around, and physically aggressive. And he flapped his arms. And I said to mom and dad, I was like, what do you want to work on? And they were like, well, we don't want him flapping his arms. No, I'm sorry. That's not where we're going to focus right now.
Can I add that this is another advantage of getting intervention, is because sometimes you just need a perspective check. You really do. I think all parents need a perspective check sometimes, like, oh, maybe this thing I've been hyper-focusing on is not a big deal. Okay.
Oh, perfect point. So I like to focus on aggressive behaviors first. Anything that puts them or other people at risk. So I'm starting with aggression directed towards others, aggression to self, property destruction, elopement are my big ones.
Elopement meaning running off. Just saying.
Then we're going to work our way down. Now, once we get into things that aren't hurting other people or themselves, then we can be a little more, choose what's most important to the family. What does that say? So one of
we all are. Seriously, we all make that mistake.
So one of the things that I've had a problem with, this kid, he only ate baby food. And he was 10 years old, and he was only weighed 40 pounds. And they were going to put a feeding tube in him. And imagine an autistic young man with a feeding tube in him. I don't think that's going to go well.
It's really hard.
Right. So we focused on eating and eating different things first, because him not eating solid foods was having the most direct impact on his behavior. Your focus is going to have to be decided in concert with family and other providers, and everybody has to be on the same page on this. And if they are not on the same page, then you need to get them on the same page. Number 8, don't compare autistic children. They are all different. I have 2 autistic children. They are the results of the genetic combination of the 2 of us. And they have had similar parental experience and experiences overall. And they are completely different in their symptomatology. Completely different. How do I explain that? I don't know. I can't. Can you explain that?
All autistic children are different.
All autistic children are different. And it's hard.
All children are different. And then you add the spectrum in and it just kind of...
Because you will see different autistic children progress at different rates. And when your child is not the one progressing at the same rate as another one, you wonder why, and it's hard not to feel guilty as a parent that maybe we aren't doing something right. I've had to really outlaw this kind of discussion in the waiting room at my group, because all the parents will get together and compare how their child is progressing, and that can be useful in a way, but children progress at different rates anyway, and we still don't know why some children progress faster than others. And just, unfortunately, this is also just one of the realities. Autistic females tend to have worse symptoms than autistic boys. Unfortunately, that's just generally speaking.
I think the biggest thing to combat that, like the worst thing you're doing to yourself is beating yourself up. I even know of a woman who struggled with real bitterness towards those who had children on the spectrum that were doing well. That's not what I have typically seen. For the most part, I think parents with kiddos with special needs are really great about cheering each other on, and making suggestions and brainstorming. But the biggest thing is that you celebrate every little thing, every little milestone, every little thing that happens. If you have a friend with a child with a special need, probably just about any kind, and they post anything about something their child accomplished, even if it seems menial to you, you cheer them on in some fashion, because chances are that was a battle hard won, or an unexpected tender mercy that is not typical. So cheer them on.
I would recommend not just a like for a post about a child's improvement, but a love with a celebratory gift.
Josh is all about the gifts.
Celebratory gift.
He over gifts, but that is a good time.
I do not over gift.
You over gift. It's a great time though to just something to let them know that you are so excited for them, even if you don't understand why what they have said or posted is a big deal. There's a reason they're posting it.
One of the things that I really enjoyed is Caitlin is talking more and more all the time, which has been very helpful. And it would have been great if she was talking more at 4, but she's talking more at 14. And we can deal with that.
One of the great things we have going for us is that the people around us have caught on to this, and they have started to help us recognize, or to let us know when they see things. Like Caitlin at church, probably a couple of years ago now, we were talking about the importance of the visuals. They were having a lesson in church, and I have no idea what visuals were involved, but one of her fellow classmates looked over and realized that Caitlin was drawing what they were talking about. And so that's maybe something that if a more typically developing child did, that we were like, oh, that's interesting. But for Caitlin, it was a form of communication, and it was a really big deal. And now they go out of their way to acknowledge what she's drawing and to talk to her about it. Mm-hmm. But to realize that in that instance, even though she was drawing a picture about what was being discussed in a church meeting, they realized that was a form of communication and interaction from her, and they celebrated that. So I just loved that, and I was so grateful for that girl who noticed that and pointed that out.
Mm-hmm. Commandment number 9, examine information critically. There is a lot of information about autism out there, and there is a lot of people who want to get your money in treating your child's autism. I will never forget, I was doing a home-based session with a family, and this is a kid who was very severe. He was a lot of fun, though. The mom says, Dr. Josh, it's been so great having you. I just don't think we're going to need you next week. I'm like, okay. Yeah, she's like, I found this cure for autism, and it was $60. And I'm like,
hey, sign me up. That's great. I don't know if I've heard this story.
Oh, this is great. And I'm like, can I see it? Because I was very curious about this autistic cure for $60. And it was gummy vitamins with a label printed on it that said, autism gummies, your cure for autism.
You know, we laugh, but it's just, I mean, obviously that's horrible because as a parent, when you see your child struggling with anything, it's hard not to, if you hear of a quick fix, to want to jump on that and for someone to exploit parents in that situation. That's awful. But
it's horrible. You'll hear about experimental surgeries in Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is a big thing. And you're going to hear a lot of different things about autism from a lot of different sources related to autism, treatment, etiology, everything. You're even going to hear some providers say some things, and you're going to be like, I don't know. Not everybody agrees with me.
What?
I know. And people shouldn't just straight up agree with me. That would be bad.
I don't always agree with them.
Well, you know.
We have discussions.
You can't be a prophet in your own land. And so, but you
when it comes to autism treatment, I pretty much always agree with them.
So you have to critically analyze all the information that you are given on everything related to autism, because it is something that so many people care about and has affected so many families. And if there was, for whatever is effective in helping with autism, it can gain a lot of money, and unfortunately that can bring out a lot of greed in people. Commandment number 10, you are the best advocate your child will ever have. You will find in your journey through helping your child with autism that there are some great providers, there's some average providers, and there's some really bad providers. In the education, psychological, treatment, all treatment modality setting. You want to get as many great people on your side as possible. But really, no one will care more for your child than you. And so, you know, we had a wonderful teacher for Caitlin and Jared in elementary school. But it's still, at IEP meeting, it was IEP meeting, and we came prepared. Yeah. We've had a wonderful psychiatrist work with Caitlin, and we've still had long discussions. Mm-hmm. We have a wonderful pediatrician, and we've kept him after hours.
We've also had, for the most part, we've been incredibly blessed, but we've also had providers that we just didn't think were the most effective help for our kids. You know, like in my most overwhelmed moments, one of the things I have thought to myself is I can get them to people who can help them. You know, even if I don't feel like I always have known what to do. Well, I definitely don't always know what to do, and I definitely feel that. But I can get them there. I can say, you know what, this speech therapist, she seems like a nice person, but she's not the one who's helping my child. Let's try someone else. Or well, with anything, with any intervention, or I need to have a chat with this therapist and we need to discuss changing things up because I don't think this is really the best thing to focus on right now.
And I will tell you,
get them there and then critically, you know, help in the process as you can.
advocating is this woman's strength. This woman can advocate with the best of them. And she is an excellent at the smile, but I'm going to tell you what I think at the same time maneuver, which is rare in these days.
I just wanted to give you some feedback.
She is excellent at this maneuver, and I have learned a lot from watching her do this. So next Wednesday.
Can I
go right ahead? Yes.
The one thing I was thinking about as I listened to Josh, especially before I got on here, is I'm going to tell you a secret. He's really great at this. He's really great as a provider. He's a really great dad. I think I do pretty good. We're not perfect. I was sitting here thinking as he was talking about commandment number 1, you know, where you have to do what you say you're going to do. Of times I have not done that. And so just with all of these, this is the goal. But cut yourself some slack, mom and dad. Cut yourself some slack, grandma. Cut yourself some slack, provider, aunt, friend. Nobody's perfect. This is what we're striving for. The more consistent we can be, especially with commandment number 1, the better. But you get to be human too. So
definitely. And there have been plenty of times it's been the end of the day. I'm exhausted, and I have said, "You won this battle, children. You won this battle."
Mine is the early morning. I've given them the caveat. It's like, if you wake me up and I say yes to TV before it's appropriate for TV time, it really means no. I'm telling you now, but it's hard.
And as my mentor, Dr. Dee taught me, the best thing about working with children, well, there's a lot of great things about working with children, but one of the best things is if you don't interact appropriately to target behavior the first time, the great thing is it'll come back up again soon enough and we'll get another chance.
Round 2.
It's not going to be the only time they make that mistake. So Emily and I really enjoy doing these webinars. And next week is our last one for Autism Awareness Month. And we're calling that one Frequently Asked Questions. And we would like to get as many of your all's questions as possible. So if you have any questions, if you can either comment on this video, or you can message me, or just get them private message me, however you want to do it, so that Emily and I can prepare as many questions for you as possible and have adequately answered your questions. Because if we wait till the day of, you know, it's coming off the top of the brain, and then it'll be some strange Star Wars analogy.
He'll sing more. So if you could please send in your questions, then maybe he won't sing as much.
And maybe you're thinking, did I send enough questions? And I'll just tell you, it's never be enough, never be enough for me. Never, 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 never. Never enough. I missed that note.
Which?
So, do you want to explain this part?
Yes. Okay. So just a reminder, anyone who donates any amount to the link you see in the description of the video to the Out of the Darkness Suicide Prevention Walk for our team gets entered into a drawing for this large hoodie. I've been wearing the t-shirt, and here's the hoodie, size large, and on the back our suicide helpline and the suicide text line. So you never know who you might help wearing it. So anyone who makes any donation gets entered into the drawing for that. And then if you make a donation of $10 or more, you get a copy of what we've been talking about today, which is Josh's The 10 Commandments for Raising Children with Autism. And you can get a paper booklet copy like this if you let us know, or we can send you the electronic document version. So please help us as we work on our family goal to raise money to help prevent suicide from causing tragedy to anyone else's family.
The link for those donations are on this video, and as always, I will also make a YouTube version of this video that will be available to share.
Ooh, that's a good suggestion. Did you see that?
What's that?
Autism with mood disorders video.
Ooh.
When you've got the comorbid situation.
That's a good one. I have seen that. I've seen autism with schizophrenia.
Yeah, when you have autism at the same time as other mental illnesses or physical disabilities that just, exponentially can affect things. So those are some really good topics we can discuss.
Imagine being overstimulated by hallucinations. Mm-hmm. That's a rough one. So I'm gonna have the YouTube version of this up tomorrow. Feel free to share this video on Facebook to any and all. We relinquish all rights to this. We want as many people to benefit from this information as possible.
Autism awareness.
Yeah. All right. You all have a lovely evening. It was great talking to you.